Welcome back, everyone. Let me tell you, I am so excited to have best-selling New York Times author Karen White back on the show. You've seen her books all over the place, including a spotlight in the Costco magazine and displays in the stores. Her novels include The Night the Lights Went Out, The House on Trad Street, Flight Patterns, The Memory of Water, The Sound of Glass, The Guests on South Battery, Dreams of Falling, and many more. Karen's new book, The Christmas Spirits on Trad Street, was just released October 22nd. This is Karen's new book that I just spoke about, The Christmas Spirits on Trad Street. Karen, congratulations, book 26 for you.
Yes, I started when I was a baby.
Yeah. It was an amazing gift. Who knew? Who knew? Well, the book has just come out, just released earlier in October, and this is part of your Trad Street series.
Yes.
And the interesting thing about this is that you've got spirits. You've got almost like the TV show where they would talk to the angel or whatever it was.
Yes,
help them move to the
Medium.
light.
Medium was another one. Yes.
Yes, yeah,
Big
just
fan.
like Medium. Right. So how did this all come about?
It was really strange. I've always loved ghost stories. My dad, as a child, used to tell us true ghost stories. So I just thought it was normal that luckily I don't see ghosts because I'm a scaredy cat.
Yeah.
But when this character really jumped into my head one day, fully formed, I knew her name was Melanie, I knew she was a little OCD, and I knew she saw dead people.
Right.
Because I love old houses. I've always loved old houses. All of my books have an old house as a main character. And I thought, wouldn't it be cool to have a character who sees dead people and who deals with old houses? So that's why Melanie is a realtor.
Yes.
And of course Charleston, because Charleston is full of history and gorgeous architecture, old houses, and of course plenty of ghosts.
You know, it's interesting because it is like historical fiction. I mean, there's so much of this is going back to what happened in the Revolutionary War.
Right. And I loved it. Huge history buff, again, because of my dad. But I love the Revolutionary War history. We lived in northern New Jersey for 4 years, and my dad worked in Manhattan. So we lived in Morristown, which is where Washington had his winter headquarters. Of course, we took the drive over to Valley Forge in the wintertime to see how miserable those accommodations were. I'm a new member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, but I'm fascinated. And when I was writing Dreams of Falling, which was my last book, it's set in Georgetown, and the Marquis de Lafayette, who was instrumental in winning the American Revolution, when he came over from France, he landed in Georgetown. Which isn't that far from Charleston. And a lot of people equate South Carolina history with Civil War history, which of course there's a lot. We have Fort Sumter and all that, but listen to me like I'm a South Carolinian. But you know, it was like Georgia, it was one of the first 13 colonies,
right.
And it's a huge Revolutionary War history. So I thought, why not?
Well, that's very fun, and I got the feeling of driving out to like some of those plantations when you would talk about driving to the plantation that's mentioned in this. I also loved all the landmarks in Charleston, and that it was set at Christmas time, and I could just visualize the Francis Marion Hotel and other places, the way you described them. Charleston at Christmas time is really special.
Oh, it is. And when I've never spent Christmas Day, Christmas week in Charleston, but I've been there the week before and the weeks after, and as if Charleston could be prettier, the way it dresses itself up for Christmas is extraordinary. I mean, there's even a house on Meeting Street that puts a big Santa hat on the Victorian turret, you know.
Oh, yeah.
It's just gorgeous. And my editor said, you know, because I was contracted for this book and one more in the series, and she said, you know, Karen, you've never done a holiday themed book. Would you consider doing that for Trad Street? You know, what's Charleston like at Christmas? I'm like, say no more.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, and look at the cover. They had so much fun with
wonderful.
that cover.
It's wonderful. I love it. Our conversation with New York Times bestselling author Karen White continues after this quick break. We are delighted to have Karen White with us in the studio today. This is Karen's new book, The Christmas Spirits on Trad Street. I love the way you write, Karen, and the way that you pay so much attention to detail because it puts you right there. I can taste those ginger snap cookies.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Oh no, I know. And I think it helps that it's first person. So it's the whole series is told from Melanie's point of view.
Right.
And I'm neither going to confirm nor deny this, but people who know me and have read the book say that Melanie and I are very similar. But I do have a labeling gun and I know how to use it, and I also love ABBA, but that's where I'm going to say it ends. But so I sort of, especially, it's a lot easier when you're writing first person point of view. You become that character. You are tasting what she's tasting. You're hungry when she's hungry. You're seeing what she's seeing, and you're you know, telling it in the words on the pages. So
well, there are a lot of interesting little subplots in the book. The subplot that's happening with her sister, and then the husband's brother.
Yes.
This is a big thing going on, and then his wife, who happens to be her cousin. I
Right.
mean, it's related, and it's very fun to read the webs that you weave and to see how it's going to play out. But you said this is the 6th in the Trad Street series. You have one more you're going to write.
One more. And each book can be picked up on its own and read. Each book has its own mystery.
Right.
But like you said, all these webs, I always recommend that people start at the first book, The House on Trad Street, because then we meet Melanie, and she's pretty much all on her own. And because it's still a character-driven book, the cast of characters grows and expands, and you get all these, you know, like we don't know about Jane until book 6, and you know, Nola is another big character. She doesn't come on until book 3. So when you meet Melanie in the beginning, and then you read it, you know, each book ends kind of on a cliffhanger, so you don't always know what's going to happen. So it's just kind of neat to read them, but they can be, each book has its own mystery that's solved. And this one, because there is another book, there are 2 things that are not quite resolved that will be resolved in the final book.
Gotta have that. But now the interesting thing to me is, while you have this Trad Street series going, you've written other standalones that aren't part of that.
No, they're not.
How does your mind do that? How do you have all these little people in your head?
You know, it's funny. It helps because the first book, The House on Trad Street, came out in 2008. That was 11 years ago. So these characters in this setting it lives in my head. So when I start a new Trad Street book, there's already givens, you know, my characters in the setting. You know, obviously the plot changes, the character dynamics will change, but there's a bunch already given. And there's also more of an element of humor in these books. There's still some emotional stuff, but there's also humor. And so I find writing these books my palate cleanser.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm writing, because my Southern women's fiction books are very big, emotional. There might be some humor, but they're really emotional journeys. And so when I finish one of those, I need a little break, and these books are the perfect break.
That's so neat.
I don't write them at the same time. That would drive me insane. But
yeah.
But Melanie's always in my head.
And part of it in the mirror.
Yes, a little bit maybe.
Well, Karen White, it's always wonderful to see you.
Jennie.
Thank you for coming by. And again, Karen's new book, The Christmas Spirits on Trad Street. Look for it in your bookstores, and it is a very fun read.
Great.
We'll be right back. Up next on Jennie, Dolly Parton is making sure everyone can enjoy not just Karen's books, but reading in general. An update on her Imagination Library and the Greater Augusta Partnership for Literacy when we come back.